Hey everyone! Okay, today's video will be about word problems that involve both fractions and decimals. Make sure you write down everything you see on the screen that's not already in your notes. Today's objective: I will be able to solve real-life problems involving fractions and decimals. So let's just review the steps that we need whenever we're going to solve a word problem. So the first thing we want to do is identify the question, and we want to figure out what it's asking us to find. The next thing we want to do is identify the needed information that we have to use so that we can actually solve that problem. Then we're going to write an expression. Then we're going to solve that expression. And then we want to check to make sure that the answer is sensible. Don't forget, we convert whenever we add and subtract. So that means if we are adding fractions and decimals, we've got to change something so that they match. When we multiply and divide with fractions and decimals, we don't have to convert, and then we just follow our fraction rules. So let's do some examples together. Example 1, Sean uses 1/2 of his monthly paycheck on bills and 1/10 for savings. If his last paycheck was $3,000.50, how much did he put in savings? Alright, so the question is asking how much money he put in savings. So the information we need, we know that 1/10 of his paycheck goes into savings. And then we know that his last paycheck was $3,000.50. Now there is some extra information in this question. All we care about is how much Sean puts into savings. We do not care about how much he's paying for bills. So let's write an expression. So we want to find 1/10 of $3,000.50. Now there are two different ways we can do this. Whenever we're taking a fraction of something, so like if I wanted 1/10 of $3,000.50, this of we can treat as multiplication. So that would be like 1/10 times 3,000.50, and then we would put that over 1 to make it quote-unquote look like a fraction. Then we would just follow our fraction rules. 1 times 3,000.50 is just 3,000.50, and then we have 10 times 1, which is 10. Now, we have to take top dog in the house and divide this. And I just took this and moved it over so I would have a little bit more space. Alright, so again, top dog goes in the house. Alright, we are dividing by a whole number, so we just pop the decimal up and divide like normal. 10 cannot go into 3, but it can go into 30 3 times. Subtract that, get a 0. Bring down this 0. 10 goes into 0, obviously 0 times. So now I'm just going to bring down the next 0. Again, 10 goes into 0, 0 times. Okay, so obviously we're still not going to have any kind of remainder. Now we still have numbers to bring down, so I'm going to bring down this 5. 10 cannot go into 5, so I put a 0. So we still have a remainder of 5, and we bring down the last 0. 10 goes into 50, 5 times. So that means 1/10 of $3,000.50 would be $300.05. Now, some of you may be wondering, okay, if I'm going to find 1/10 of $3,050, can't I just take this and divide it by 10 in the first place? Yes, you can, because as you see, whenever we set it up as a multiplication, so we took the fraction times the total amount, we still ended up just getting the total divided by 10. So you can do it either way, and you'll still get this answer. Alright, example 2. Tracy is decorating for a birthday party and she purchases 30.6 feet of blue ribbon. She plans to use half the ribbon in the living room and 1/4 of the ribbon in the kitchen. How much ribbon will she have left over? All right, so the question wants to know how much she will have left over. And then the information that we need, we know that she got 30.6 feet total. Half of that will go in the living room and 1/4 will be used in the kitchen. So let's go ahead and figure out how much she's actually using. So she's using 1/2 plus 1/4 of the ribbon. Now, we're adding fractions, so we have to have a common denominator. So the least common multiple of 2 and 4 would just be 4. So I'm going to have something over 4 plus something over 4. Now, this already has a denominator of 4, so I leave it 1/4. Now over here, 2 times 2 is 4, so I do the same thing in the numerator, and 1 times 2 is 2. So let's add that together. When we add fractions, the denominator just stays the same, and 2 plus 1 is 3. So, she uses 3/4 of the ribbon. But we want to know how much is left over. So let's figure out how much would be left. So if 30.6 feet is the whole amount of ribbon, that is like one whole amount of ribbon. So I want to know what's left over from the whole thing of ribbon, and then when we take away what she uses, I want to know what we have left. So we have 1 minus 3 over 4. Again, we're subtracting, we've got to have common denominators just like we did when we were adding. So 1 whole, that can be represented by any number over itself. I know I want my denominator to be 4, so that would just be 4 over 4 minus 3 over 4. Denominator stays the same, and 4 minus 3 is 1. So she has 1/4 of the ribbon left. But let's figure out what that would be in feet, since that's what we started with. So I want to find 1/4 of 30.6. Now, just like with the previous example, there are 2 ways we can do this. We can do 1/4 times 30.6, or we can just take 30.6 divided by 4. Either way, we end up doing the exact same steps. So let's go ahead and just multiply it. So that would be like 1/4 times 30.6 over 1. Multiply your numerators, you get 30.6. Multiply your denominators, and you get 4. And then we're going to put top dog in the house and divide. I am dividing a decimal by a whole number, so I simply pop up the decimal. 4 cannot go into 3, but it can go into 30 7 times with a remainder of 2. Bring down the 6. 4 goes into 26 6 times, which is 24. Then I get a remainder of 2. So I'm going to add a 0, bring it down, and 4 goes into 20 5 times. And we know if we subtract that out, we get a remainder of 0. So our final answer, after all that work, we will have 7.65 feet of ribbon left. So that means Tracy will have 7.65 feet of blue ribbon left. Okay, now it's time for you to try. We have an example for you to work out. Make sure that you show all of your work and don't forget your summary at the end. We'll see you next class day.